All right. 3, 2, 1. Now welcoming on two very special guests, Tom Richards and Connor Tweet, doing a little twofer for you on the interview today for episode 65. We're excited to have Connor and Tom on here, two more fellow Mariners fans. They're not bandwagon. They've been with the Mariners through the thick and thin. And so we're here to talk about the last month of baseball, get to know them a little bit more. They're also both Boise State grads. So we got four fellow Broncos here in the Zoom room today, and we're excited to chop it up a little bit. So Connor, Tom, welcome.
Two for Tuesday, isn't it?
65, baby. That's great. I didn't know you guys were that far down the path.
Yeah, we are 65 in as of today, and yeah, we're excited to have you guys on here.
I have to say, we're representing pretty well. Usually we can't see it on the screen, but we got some good ends going. True to the blue.
Yeah, Mariners swag. Three of us, and seeing Tom there. It's not the Mariners. That.
Well, I'll tell you what, I just got back from California, so I thought I'd break in some of the local merch on the podcast today. So all my laundry's kind of everywhere after a vacation. I'm sure you guys know what that's like, but I got I'm looking at my Mariners flag right now.
There we go.
Hey, we'll take it.
All right. Well, right before we hit record, we were starting to hear how Connor knew Tom. Two Mariners fans, but Connor's actually from Bozeman, Montana. Tom is from a little bit closer to where we grew up. He's from Renton, Washington. So I'm sure our paths crossed at some point back in high school. But Connor, tell us a little bit more of the story, or start from the beginning, I guess, of how you met Tom at Boise State.
Oh, absolutely. I'll tell it so many times. I love talking about it. So Boise State, my freshman year, my roommate, his name was Titus, like the Greek god Titus. And Titus would tell me these stories freshman year and sophomore year about this boisterous man, this good-natured fellow that he grew up with named Tom. That was a part of their big friend group. And so Tom was always just this imaginary character in my head. And then all of a sudden, junior, senior year, I think he was at one of my fraternity rush events. This older guy came in with a beard. He didn't look like your typical freshman fraternity rushee. And he introduced himself as Tom Richards, friend of Titus. And I couldn't believe my eyes. It's just been history since then. So when you meet someone who's just been so talked up and praised, it's a surreal experience.
You try not to let a lot of people down when you have an intro like that.
Oh yeah, it's the worst. So now I've given the people that intro. So there you go.
Yeah, I love that. I've gotten the pleasure to get to know Tom over the last couple of years through some men's league softball on our weekday night league. And it's been a blast. We've kind of gone through a Mariners-esque couple of years. We've had a little bit of a rough start last year. We were still kind of getting the new team kinks worked out. And then this season we're in a little bit more of a groove. I usually put Tom as our cleanup hitter because he sure knows how to do that. He's either with the big team, you kind of have two cleanup hitters. So we like to rotate them around and throw them in, in that 4, the 8 or 9 to have the strength at the bottom. So it's working.
He's a college baseball man, so I'm not surprised that he's doing work in the cleanup hole for you.
Oh yeah.
I have to say, energy. Just while we're talking about meeting Tom, I got a little guest star playing in the men's league a couple weeks ago. I was in Boise for a week. And I mean, I had started the men's team with Duncan a couple of years ago in Boise, but then I just moved this past winter back to Washington. And so like they picked up some new faces, didn't really know everybody, just kind of like warming up. Hey, what's up, everybody? And I was like, hey, Duncan, who's that? And he's like, that's Tom. And before I could even go up and say like, hey, man, he's like, hey, you look like your brother. You must be Hunter. And just like, boom, right there, like, hey, I'm Tom. And I feel like if you had to pick anybody just to be around, let alone just like jump on a softball team, Tom is your guy.
It's funny. It gravitates. I feel like a lot of those younger kids, and I would say Connor and I are a little bit older than the Dom and Josh, those younger players. But they started naming the group chat Tom, and I was kind of I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's the old Renton hospitality I bring or what, but I welcomed with open arms, and I'm just happy to get to know you guys and actually, be a part of the softball team. And, it's a lot of new relationships I get to build with you guys. So that means a lot.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I have to say, just a quick jump over to Connor. Tom doesn't get all the light, but Duncan texted me earlier today. He's like, hey, I set up this interview with Tom. We're going to jump on tonight. And I was like, sweet. And then I get the Zoom invite and it says Connor Tweet and Tom Richards. And I was like, Connor Tweet, how do I know that name? And I was like, oh, I think I had classes with him. And Duncan was like, yeah, he graduated with a finance degree. I was like, oh yeah, definitely had some of the same classes. And then he jumped on right before Tom did. And he goes, we had social dance together freshman year. And I was like, that was it.
Man, I remember every face from social dance and not a single name.
I do too. I think of people.
Yep. It's like we were all there for a reason,
Right.
What was our reason? Probably different for everybody.
Probably.
I wanted to be able to dance at weddings. That's what I wanted to be able to do. And it didn't work. I don't remember a single step from that class.
I know. I feel like we should have taken it closer to when we graduated, when more of our friends would be getting married, because I always think like, man, it'd be so cool to just like bust out a tango or something right here. And then all of a sudden, what do you know? I'm doing the white man shuffle.
Right. What's the difference though? What's the difference? Come on. Who's keeping score?
Yeah,
Right.
I forgot Hunter took that class, and it definitely shows that he didn't carry anything from freshman year. He's been to 8 or 9 weddings this year, and the few that I've been to as well, I have not seen much coming from social dance. So,
Hey, no, Hunter. I'm the same, buddy. I'm the same.
Hey, glad to hear that
instructor.
Yeah, glad to hear that it didn't work for either of us.
Well, that's awesome.
As we talked a little bit about softball, I think that we'll jump into a segment. We'll let you guys in on one of our segments that we like to do every couple weeks to keep the people informed. But we just called this one Beer League Softball. We provide a little update. Connor said that he's a softball enthusiast himself. Hunter's remaining a free agent in Pierce County, Washington. But he did get to be a guest star a couple weeks ago. And then Tom and I have a game tomorrow night. So I figured, why not let you guys in? We'll kick off the interview with the segment, and then we'll jump in to a little bit more about you guys. But Connor, are you currently on a roster?
Oh, absolutely, man. Head coach, 5-hole hitter, shortstop.
The guy.
So it's co-ed. Let me tell you that it's co-ed. If it wasn't co-ed, I'd be hitting cleanup. So just
strategize.
It's really a blast. I started the team last summer, I guess. Last summer was my first summer back in Bozeman, Montana. And I was working in the admissions office at Montana State University. Go Bobcats. And in the admissions office, there were all these students that were called advocates. And they were the tour guides at MSU. And I didn't know many people because all of my friends in high school moved. They were gone. So I was making new friends. And so I was this guy, graduated college, pretty irrelevant. But I would ask every single female advocate if they had any softball experience. And it was just an open-ended question, like did not give them any info about a team I was trying to make or anything. And so I ended up getting about 7 or 8 awesome girls from Advocats. It was this big program, and they've been the OGs on the team ever since then, and mostly have graduated. So it's kind of like seeing little ducklings grow into ducks. And so that's been super fun. And obviously the rest of the guys are people that I've just gotten along with here in Bozeman. But it's a ton of fun. I recommend Gallatin Valley Softball Association, and go Benchwarmers.
Hey, as the fellow coach of a co-ed Benchwarmers team,
Yes.
we are actually known as Benchwarmers 2.0 because we left our first Benchwarmers team behind 3 years ago after we went winless for our first inaugural season. We rebranded. We got a few new additions to the roster, and we've evolved over time, but we're still going strong as the Benchwarmers. I think this is our 3rd year and 5th season, so we're getting a little seasoned, and we finally got a graduated Boise State softball player on our team. So if nothing else, we'll take it. It's always a struggle getting good quality girl players, but we've got about 6 or 7 right now. We're pretty consistent, and we've put the herd on some teams this year.
Good. Let's go,
Nice.
man. Sounds like you brought in that big free agent that's kind of complementing the young nucleus.
For sure.
It's sounding a little bit like what we might see this offseason out in Seattle.
Yeah. Sounds like what happened in Tampa Bay with Nelson Cruz, huh?
Yeah.
Wouldn't want to play the Tampa Bay Rays softball team, I'll tell you that.
I have to just plug this in for well, I don't know for what reason, but for the blood, sweat, and tears of beer league softball. When I did meet Tom that same night, I was just jacked because he has such an electric atmosphere. I hit a shallow left field pop-up, and as I kind of slowed up to take a turn at first, the unnamed base coach, for his privacy because of the event that followed, I kind of just took a turn at first, and he goes, "You're good." And so I look up, and the person had just picked up the ball in shallow left field. So by "you're good," I took that as "take second." And so I light it up, and I start going, and I think I'm there. And then all of a sudden, the ball is almost there. And I had 2.5 years of adult league softball experience before I moved in the Boise area. And I had always told myself I would never slide because I always wear shorts. And I came in hot, and my baseball instincts kicked in, and I slid. I was safe at second, so I got the double. We ended up winning 19-10. But 3 weeks later, my leg is still not healed. And I had a good limp for probably a week and a half.
Still on the IL, huh?
Yeah, 10-day IL.
That's why
You're a guest star for that game.
I know, I had a lot to prove.
Yeah.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
See, normally that is the cardinal sin, is sliding in shorts. I mean, you're gonna tear up your leg pretty bad, but
Oh yeah, you should have seen it.
pretty
Right.
much gone. But hey, that's why he's still a free agent in Pierce County. So maybe next year.
Oh, man.
Well, fun talking softball a little bit. Tom and I have a big game tomorrow. We're trying to hold our own, trying to stay atop the whatever place we're in, probably 3rd or something like we tend to be. But yeah, we've got a big game tomorrow. Something though that we want to talk a little bit about today is we've got 4 weeks left of the regular season. Mariners really knocking on the door, as close as you can get to the playoffs without actually being locked in. So we want to talk a little Mariners ball today. Obviously the rest of the 2021 season, but also looking ahead to what we've got next year. Cause I mean, I'll say it right now, even if we get into one of those wild card spots, I wouldn't want to play some of those teams that are on a roll right now. So we got to talk a little bit about the present, but we'll talk a lot about the future here in a little bit. But I'll let Connor start it off. Connor, you're a writer for the Soto Mojo blog. You want to tell us a little bit about that and maybe a little perspective on where the Mariners sit right now?
Yeah. Thank you. I started up with Soto Mojo back in April. Yeah, I had moved back here to Bozeman pursuing a master's degree that I ended up not finishing out. And so I was just looking to find my my foot in a place where the shoe fits that foot. Which for me, baseball has kind of always been that. And man, the Seattle Mariners, what a love of mine. But yeah, so I started up with that, did a couple months of work just as a contributor for the site, writing about once a week, once every other week. And just this last week, I got hired on as a site expert for Soto Mojo. So myself and Chris O'Day are the two primary writers for the site, and we'll edit the other contributors. We'll manage the social media. So it's been a really cool opportunity. As far as where I'm seeing the Mariners at right now and going into next year, I have to say they've completely exceeded expectations this season. You take a look at our lineup, you take a look at our run differential, the batting averages, guys in the regular batting order. It's unbelievable that we are now 12 games over 500. I hate playing the Astros because Kyle Tucker bats 7th, and he has a better batting average than everybody on our team except Ty France. And that bothers me so much. But these guys, it's been the combination of timely hitting, excellent defense, and the bullpen has just been locked down. Those three things have contributed to why the Mariners have been successful this season. And it's a little bit unorthodox because I can't even say the Rays take that strategy, because the Rays, you're not going to see a guy in that batting order that bats below 250. They still have a classic approach of being able to bat it around and score guys on extra base hits. Whereas the Mariners, you've got guys up and down the order that are willing to take the walk. A lot of guys are able to steal second. A lot of guys are able to lay down a bunt. And it's fun to watch if you like rooting for the underdog. And I think the Mariners have probably gained quite a few fans around the country who love that underdog, and the Mariners have played that role this year. Yeah,
I like that. I think that that's a great analysis of where we currently stand. I think there's so much potential, as we've seen from this season, with the young talent that we've been developing even for the last couple of seasons. Obviously the short season in 2020 didn't help a ton, but it gave us a little bit of glimpse into what our farm system could provide. And so I think that exceeds expectations is a great evaluation of what 2021 has shown us. And to me, there's only hope going forward into 2022. And as Hunter and I have been saying since probably episode, 40-ish of this year, that 2023 will be the Mariners season. So if we're on an upward trajectory of any sort, I think that we'll be in good shape.
Well, I agree 100% with that statement. I think I was reading one of Connor's blogs and talking about the 2025 season, and even reading that got me excited for the future years and all these prospects coming up. But I did want to add something to what Connor had to say about, I kind of call it like the mojo, the Mariner magic, where like the Tampa Bay Rays, I think I saw a stat line where after the 7th inning, they score the most runs out of any team in the MLB.
Insane.
And
yeah,
I see the Mariners still have that fight with them, coming back late in games, and especially with that Diamondback series, that was a huge series to kind of witness those extra inning games and fighting back and just having that grit that we didn't really see this time of year in the past seasons, where the Mariners are, like you said, 12 games above 500 and, still have a shot of making a wild card here. We didn't really have these type of conversations in the last, 10, 15, 20 years, where there was that one year where we were close, but it feels different this time, if you know what I mean.
It does. Well, and just the fact that, you look at the wild card race right now, and if you would have said, I was going to say 5 years ago, but even 2 years ago, which I guess was the last like normal season, if you would have said 2 or 3 years ago that we would be competing with Boston for the bottom wild card spot, I mean, you would have said, yeah, win, because honestly, like we've waited so long, but even a couple years ago, it didn't look like we had the outlook that this would happen for the Mariners in 2021. Kind of like we were saying, like, we're still going to be building, because you can't say for the last 20 years that we've been building for 20 years to get to this point. We've only really been building for the past maybe 3, maybe 5, getting these prospects. But now we're here, and it's kind of surreal to be in so close in this race.
Oh, 100%. And like our prospect depth is just insane. I did want to get kind of Connor's take on Kelnick and what he's seeing in his rookie year. One of the huge prospects that had a lot of news pushing back, past couple of years, and his name was like, oh, it's going to be like a Kyle Lewis. It's going to be like a rookie of the year type player. What are your thoughts on him so far this year? Do you see what you want to see? Would you like to see more? And what would that be?
Yeah. Oh man, Jared has just been, we have relied on him a lot, and we've relied on him a lot more than I think we maybe should have. You guys mentioned it. I mean, 2020, Jared didn't play a single competitive baseball game, Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so bad. I mean, the 2020 situation is what caused Kelenic to have a rookie year like we've seen. You think about K-Lou, he did make that jump from AA all the way to the MLB, but he was coming off of great competition. The Arkansas Travelers were a really solid team playing in a really good league. And Kyle Lewis got to make that jump right after playing competitive ball for a while. And Kelenic, he came in so fresh. And so I can't say I'm super surprised by what's happened. He's faced nasty lefties all season long. Teams don't give him anything. They know what he's capable of. He doesn't see fastballs like ever. He gets that slider down and away, that change up down out of the zone all day long from lefties. And so he's going to bounce back just fine. It will be good for his long-term development that he's had this season now of competitive ball. I'm sure he has honestly hated it because he's a competitive dude and he wants to win. And I know he thought he could come up and contribute last year. But man, this is a different league than AAA, from AA, and certainly from the alternate site from last year. So Kelnic's going to be fine. But I think the primary reason for his struggles is coming in so cold.
Yeah.
Kyle Lewis being out.
Oh yeah, and he's everyday center fielder. Come on, like
I love that prompt, Tom, because I was going to see what your thoughts were, and I think that you gave just a great recap of kind of where we're at, and I think that's a great question for Connor too, because we've seen a lot from Kelenic, both good and bad, and I think that he's one that, well, I hope that he sticks with Seattle for a long time, because there's always that potential of the Mariners farming players off to the Yankees or something like we usually do. But I'm hoping that we have him for a long time. I think he's a young player that could be very successful and help us make a World Series run eventually. But yeah, I agree. He's probably pretty done with 2021, but I think when he'll look back in 5 or 6 years, he'll realize that this was probably one of the biggest building blocks of his career.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing, like having players stick with each other or stick with this team, kind of brings up about that trade deadline drama that seemed so exciting for Mariners. And, there's so much stuff going on Twitter about, Graysman and the clubhouse chemistry was ruined by that. After seeing where we are today, I think the clubhouse might be even better. And what we got with Toro, and what Graysman has been doing in Houston, I think we won that trade. Does anyone else disagree with me?
No, I mean, I like what we're seeing. I think that, it's easy to say like, oh, this is the closest we've been, and whether 1 or 2 players made a difference or not, but no, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, man. That trade deadline was the weirdest 2 days in the entire season. Like, so many expectations were tied to Whit Merrifield. We're tied to Jose Ramirez.
Mhm.
And we leave trading our best reliever since Edwin Diaz, a career 200 hitter. And we trade JT Chargois for another reliever. You know, that's how we brought in Tyler Anderson again. Like, this guy just gets no credit, and it's so awful. He is incredible. But that was the trade deadline, and players were pissed, fans were confused and pissed, and we won. We won the trade deadline.
Yeah, I would say we did. That was insane what was going on during those 2 days. But now looking back on it, I mean, Anderson has just been, the starts I've seen him watch, he's just been hitting his spots, and the mistakes he does make aren't always life or death mistakes. That you always have that offensive power that the Mariners have, that I mentioned earlier, about they keep battling and they're still in that game. And I think that gives the pitchers quite a bit of confidence, unless they're playing Houston and they score 10 or 15 runs on us. I'm sure the confidence kind of goes down a little bit. It's a tougher hill to battle, but I definitely think this run support is and the fun differential. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So accurate.
Yeah, right. But no, it's fun to be a Mariners fan right now, and not an Oakland A's fan, if you know what I mean.
Definitely.
Man, I can't help but look at the standings really daily. I'm sure we're all in the same boat, but to see us past the A's, who were at one point the top of the West, at one point at least a dozen games ahead of us, and to see them slide, but also to see us rise to the occasion. Usually, as Tom said earlier, we're not having this conversation at the end of the first week of September, but here we are. It's exciting. Hey, even if we don't make it, this is some exciting baseball being played. And I mean, just to be having the conversation right now, it's not the too little too late talk that, man, they were, triumphant in the last month of the season, but just another season where they fell short. Like, to actually be making a run is so exciting. And I think that we've got a lot of the right guys in place. One thing I have on here that I have to ask both Connor and Tom's opinion or perspective on is a guy that we've all grown to know and love in Kyle Seeger, someone who's absolutely lighting it up right now, and one who is potentially leaving Seattle. Thoughts on that? Thoughts on where he's going?
Connor, yeah.
Just to give the fans a quick understanding of what's coming, Seeger has 1 year left on his contract, and the 1 year left is an option. So it's a team option. The base is $15 million. Seeger this year is making about $19 million, for your reference. However, that option can go up to about $18 million based on Seeger's performance this year. I don't exactly know all of those incentives, but from seeing what he's been doing recently, I imagine he's probably going to make closer to $18 million. So it's completely in the Mariners' hands of if Seeger is going to come back next season. So there is also the option that Seattle can decline the option and try to re-sign Kyle for a couple more years. The reason I could see that happening is because of our incredible prospect, Noelvi Marte, who recently got promoted to high A ball down in Everett. So fans in the Northwest will have a chance to see this guy play this season, which is going to be really cool. Marte is a shortstop, projected possibly to play third in the MLB, but he likely won't be up until, at the earliest, probably late 2023. Probably count for 24. So third base is open for the next couple years. And a guy that's hit 33 home runs, upwards of 90 RBIs, pretty good guy to have in the middle of your lineup. Not to mention he's absolutely beloved by fans and by teammates. I hope that Seattle tries to work out a multi-year deal with him, 2 to 3 year deal. That's what I would like, as opposed to him signing the option or us picking up the option. So, Tom, what do you think?
So my take on it would be the only thing that concerns me, and I'm sure it does about a lot of Mariners fans, is the age. And I think he's having a not a breakout year, one of his best years in his career this year. I definitely could see the Mariners re-signing him, but maybe as a potential DH spot, and maybe take off that load at third base, and just focusing on hitting, where the Mariners can maybe save a little bit of money that route and keep him on the team. But with this year he's also having, could be an opportunity for him to play with his brother in LA, because it sounds like anyone who has a good year, LA will sign. And might open up opportunity for a new beloved third baseman with us. But like going out and the free agency and signing someone, I don't know who would be available, but there's so many great players out there that I think we could definitely pick up someone. But I do like to flirt with that interest of having him as a DH player. I could be out of line here.
The only thing about that, Tom, is that Kyle Lewis just got shut down for the rest of this year with a knee bone bruise in the same knee that's caused him problems his whole career. And I've been telling people I don't know if we're going to see Lewis in center field one more time. Kelenic has done a fine job out there, besides a couple of blunders, but he's got the speed and the youth to handle that position for a while. And I just don't know if Lewis, if we're going to take another risk with that guy. So I could see a lot of DH reps with him, maybe some corner infield stuff, but and Seeger just does a nice job at third. So that's my counterpoint to that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you can't take away Kyle's defense. He's always came through year after year, Gold Glove after Gold Glove at third base. But just how hot his bat has been this year is just makes me wonder about potentially moving, like that Adrian Beltre type player to like a DH player.
Yeah. That's a
but
good.
Who knows? Yeah, right. So we'll see. I would love as a fan, love to have Seeger. It's kind of like he fits in that same boat as a Felix Hernandez, like a Edgar Martinez, that type of Mariner career player. And you hate to see those guys go. And like we've talked, like Duncan mentioned earlier, about that farming to other teams. That's been like the Mariners tradition. You hate to see kind of those star players like Ichiro go to the Yankees and see that with Seeger,
Yeah, and I don't think that Seeger as a DH, to keep him on the team on that note, would be out of the question necessarily, but I think that he's carried the weight so much and he's just had that load for the Mariners through some really bad years, that say he signs a 3-year deal, he has, a couple more solid years of holding down the hot corner, and the Mariners make a pretty good push in the next 3 years, and then he goes. I think for me, that's the ultimate goal for Seeger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Tom is spot on. Seeger's been the hometown guy. He's one of those career Mariners who, when people think of his career, even if he does leave, they'll think of him as a Mariner. I'll always compare him. I think Beltre is a spot on comparison. Obviously we loved watching Beltre when he was in a Mariners uniform, but I always think of Seeger as he's never been one of the hottest names. He's like a lot of Seahawks that we see, not the hottest name in the league, but a good hometown figure. And I think that Seeger's been that one consistency piece that the Mariners have needed over all the trouble. He's pretty much sacrificed his entire career to not making the postseason. And hopefully, like Hunter just said, we can get him a ring before his time in Seattle expires. But if we don't, he's stuck with us through the tough times, and I would love to see him stick it out with, I think a 2 to 3 year re-signing would be the perfect move for him.
Hot take on that. I think Seeger is going to be an early retiree for what we normally see in the MLB. If we're able to bring him back a couple more years, definitely give him a good playoff run at least. I could see Seeger retiring by the age of 35 or 36, especially if Marte comes up and is successful around 2024. Reason I say that, seems like a real family man. He's got 2 kids. His wife is very supportive of him on social media and everything. And he's made a bag. Like, this guy's made a lot of money.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
how much more do you need to make? You know, like, he's had a great career. He could go down as one of the greatest Mariners of all time. And he's going to be able to support his family and the next generation and the next generation. So I think Seeger is going to be done in the next 3 years.
Do you think there's any value out of him?
To trade?
Yeah.
Not for anything that we would consider. Third base is a bit of a premier position, which is good for trade leverage. But his low batting average is just not appealing to other teams. It's a very, teams want high batting average. They want guys on the base paths to be successful in today's game. And Seager's game is hit a home run every 3 days and hopefully propel us to a win in that game and put some solid defense along the way. And so, no, I don't think Seeger has great trade value, especially, I mean, contract's up. So
right,
not super tradable this offseason.
Right.
But hey, on that, on that free agent note, the thing that I think a lot of fans are maybe missing is just that the free agent has a choice as well, and they got to pick Seattle. We're going to have money to spend this offseason. Absolutely. Why would a player want to come and play here? And I think that pursuing Corey Seager sounds really, really interesting. And this is because I think Abraham Toro is an outfielder in the future. But, if Kyle was locked in another 2-3 years and Corey Seager really wanted to come play with his brother, it seems like they get along great. I don't think there seems like a lot of ego issues between those two guys. Big need for another left-handed bat in the middle of our order for the next several years. Think about all the righties that we have and have coming up. I think he is a very intriguing fit to take over at second base as a big time free agent. He's the one where I could see a serious motive to come to Seattle.
I like that take. I think that's interesting, something that I haven't thought about, but I think you're right. From what I've seen, they do get along very well, and I would not complain if we had Corey Seager on the team as well.
I would honestly, if we're gonna get somebody, it needs to be someone in the bullpen. And I've mentioned this to Connor through text message, where we need help in the bullpen, and I don't know if Corey Seager is gonna help us in the bullpen. But it would be fun to kind of have like the Seager bros playing together, and I could see Kyle staying if that happens. And Hunter, I'm sure you could explain to players why Seattle's a great place to live. I mean, the Seattle summers are the best summers in the world, aren't they?
Yeah, honestly, I don't think it's rained since like the beginning of May, which I think is some sort of record. But also just being at the ballpark, I've been to like 4 or 5 Mariners games this year, and it is just beautiful on a sunny day. And hey, if it's not a sunny day, they close the roof. How many other Major League Baseball stadiums have a roof that retracts? I mean, right there, it sells itself. But
Nice.
I have to say, being in Tacoma, went to a Rainiers game last week, seeing players like just that are up and coming, and even a player like Taylor Trammell, who has kind of swung back and forth. We've seen him as a product a little bit. It's just cool to be in the proximity of, you're just 30 minutes down I-5. Like when Kelnick and Gilbert got the call, they just drove up the next morning and went to Safeco. So, pretty cool atmosphere and just setting for Major League Baseball.
Yeah, for players and fans.
Definitely.
So, Connor, tell that to the free agents.
Yeah, I'll let them know for sure.
Yeah.
Any other agents you guys might have an eye on this offseason? What do you think?
What's his Bueller? Bauer, sorry.
God. Bauer?
Yeah.
Oh God.
For the pitcher.
We'll see what.
So hot take on my end. I think Trevor Bauer is obviously in the news a lot for things that you don't want to be in the news for. But if everything comes back as judge rules, he's innocent. If everything works out in his favor, and LA doesn't want him anymore, I could see him being a absolutely perfect fit for the Seattle Mariners with that talent. Adding that depth to our bullpen and to the starting rotation would just be. It's a World Series like team almost. It's a wild card making team. Let's say that.
Yeah.
I like it.
Oh, no, and he's one of the most fun pitchers to watch in baseball.
Yeah.
Fans can get behind that guy.
Yeah.
Let's hope he's not guilty.
Right.
Yeah, we need. Everybody remembers when Verlander went to the Astros, and every team in the AL West just shrieked in fear. I think that we need that fear, that threat factor for other teams to take our pitching staff seriously. I think we've gotten by this season. I think that we've shied away from injuries as best as we could and have made it work. But I think our bats have done most of the talking this season, which we can't say for years past. So I definitely don't think that someone like Bauer coming in would hurt, because I think we do need somebody big like that who could help us make a run.
And it's a pitcher's ballpark essentially.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big field. You're not in LA in that heat, and the ball's carrying a little bit farther. I could definitely see pitchers wanting to make a name here and be on ESPN a little bit more rather than like a not top 10.
Right. Yeah. Record number of perfect games or no hitters.
Right. Well, it was the last perfect game was in Safeco, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe it was.
Weren't you guys? Was anyone there?
I was at a game where we got against us, where we got no hit through 8, and then we finally got one.
Yeah, that sounds more accurate.
Yeah. One of our 5 no hitters this season. Well,
yeah.
I think the final thing that we want to get your guys' thoughts on before we get you out of here, we've taken a lot of your time already, but we truly appreciate it, is we need a prediction for this year, and then we need a little more bird's eye view of next year. But yes or no from everybody on here, do we make the postseason in 2021 or not?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm a big gambler. The odds moved from 600 points to now 2,500 points for the Mariners making the postseason. So that's telling me that Vegas is thinking, yes, they are going to make the postseason. And if they say it's true, I will also agree with them.
Hunter?
Next week, baby. Next week.
Yeah, hey, we'll take
big
it.
week.
13.
I think that we have a good shot at finishing strong. We just got to show up against the Astros. But hey, you got to get hot at the right time. And I think that we're there. So I'll say yes.
Well, I'm gonna be like America's Got Talent, and I'm not gonna be the one no. And I've been saying it all season anyways. So I'm a big yes. I think that this is the closest in my lifetime that I can remember since '01, the last time we were in when I was what was that, 6 years old. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take the yes, and hopefully we can see them push either the Yankees or the Red Sox out of that spot. And then bird's eye view of next year. What are we looking at? Better, same, worse in 2022?
Julio
Better.
Rodriguez, 2022 AL Rookie of the Year.
Ready for that.
Whoa.
Yep. Julio is absolutely raking at Double-A right now. Way more than Kyle Lewis did when he was in Double-A. Julio might start next year in Triple-A. We'll see, but he's an absolute beast, and I think he's going to have a huge rookie season. So that's my call. I think we are going to get a free agent or two that's going to really help out, and I think that we will compete for the AL West championship next year.
I'll be calling off work for that.
I will book my tickets to Seattle now.
Yeah, you're right.
AL West championship. Let me clarify, not the AL.
Yeah, I heard you. It doesn't matter. I'm going, and I already told my boss. Anytime Mariners are going to make the playoffs, I won't be there at work.
Yep.
So I think we win over 90 games next year. 100%.
Let's go.
Oh, I love that. That gives me full body chills.
Yeah, I think that's should be doable for us with the team that we have. So that's my prediction.
Tom, we got some serious reinforcements coming in that bullpen, by the way, man. I mean, if the fans, aren't familiar with them yet, Ken Giles was one of the most dominant closers in the game. He's coming back from TJ next season. He could be better than he was. Andres Munoz came over from the Padres. The guy can throw 104 miles an hour. Paul Sewald is probably going to win AL reliever of the year. And dude, I think that bullpen might be kind of nasty. We'll see.
We'll see. That's the funny thing about baseball. You never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely never know. You're right.
Well, I guess.
Well, just want to wrap it up and give you guys a chance to tell all of our listeners where they can find you, Connor, with your blog and just your guys' personal socials and any other shout outs or anything else you want to pump out there.
Sure. Yeah. First of all, like Duncan and Hunter, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. First podcast I've ever been able to do.
Oh, heck yeah.
So this was a lot of fun. You guys do a great job. Soto Mojo. You don't have to just read my stuff, read all the contributors. Got a lot of good writers that we have plugging away. And so you can check that out. It's a subset of Fan-Cited. And it's essentially an outlet where we differentiate ourselves because we got nothing to lose when we take pen to paper. We don't work for the Mariners. We don't work for a news source. We are just diehard fans that are going to tell it how it is. And so check that out. Twitter, tweets. And I enjoy doing a little bit of tweeting. So if you're there, give me a follow.
Yeah. Awesome. And to follow me on Twitter, it's TomPR95. I'll always put my weekly bets online, and I will never say if I lost them or not. So if you guys will have to hold me accountable, and yeah, give me a follow as well, and I will also follow back.
Well, we love that. We'll make sure that we get our personal accounts following you both, and then also the Climb the Ladder account. We try to retweet and pump out some baseball stuff on there as well. Tom, we've got a couple guys we can connect you to share some bets and some spreads if you need, especially as we jump into college football season. Also 1-800-GAMBLING if you find yourself having a problem. But no, we really appreciate you guys. Connor, awesome to meet you and talk to you a little bit about Soto Mojo. We'll definitely be subscribing and checking in weekly on that. Tom, as always, it's a pleasure, and we'll go get them tomorrow night. But man, it's been a blast chopping it up, obviously about baseball, but even more about our beloved Mariners. I had a great time with you guys.
Oh yeah, thank you guys for having us on. I mean, or having us on, and I'm excited to see how the season ends, and not only with the Mariners but also with our softball team.
Definitely, yeah. We'll have to get you guys back on for a little postseason kind of off-season chatter. See what's happening and see what we have to look forward to as spring training approaches.
Yeah, 100%. Maybe even a little Seahawk talk.
Hey, we'll take that.
And Kraken, who are just about a month from tip-off.
Yeah, I'm actually planning on going to my first Kraken game this winter. So
Love
we will
that.
do a live video reaction of me at the Kraken game.
Yeah, we officially become a NHL podcast starting, I think it's October 14th.
Love it.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Well, we appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us this evening. And we're excited to get this out there for everybody to hear, for Bold Mariners fans. Ready to roll for the rest of this season and into next. But yeah, thank you guys a lot. It was a blast.
Yeah, thank you guys. Keep climbing the ladder.